Okay, hello, we're live. So I have put on my microphone here, so tell me if you can hear me. Okay, good. So people can hear me. Good. I put on my microphone this time. I got this back in June, July. So if you've noticed an improvement in the quality of my videos in the last year or so, it is because I got this microphone. Yeah. So today we are doing our third live stream, and today there's a little less on the agenda than last live stream. So on this live stream, I am going to do another reading wrap up. So what I have read from mid-February to mid-March. So I'm not gonna mention the books I mentioned the last time, but all the books I finished reading after that I'm gonna mention in this live stream. And of course throughout the live stream you can ask me questions through the comments, comment anything you want, and I will read them out. Okay. So from mid-March to from mid-February to mid-March I've read 6 books. Yeah. So one in English, one in Swedish, and 5 in 5 in English. Yeah. Give me a second. No. Here we go. That's better. Okay. So I shall get into the wrap up of what I've read so far. And I have most of these books with me except the first one. So the first book I finished reading since the last live stream actually was a Swedish book. Actually, it's called Ockupera Åland, written by Sten Ekman and Tommy Jepson. And that's a book about my home region. So I don't know if you know this, but I am actually half Finnish, but I am from the Swedish-speaking minority in Finland, and that Swedish-speaking minority has an autonomous region called Åland. It's an archipelago of islands between Sweden and mainland Finland, and we speak Swedish there, although we're Finnish citizens. And that region is demilitarized, and it's supposed to have been demilitarized since the end of, what's it called, that war in the mid-19th century between Russia and Britain. Since the Crimean War in the mid-19th century, Åland has supposed to be demilitarized. But that book is basically a history about, okay, but there are these different countries over the past 150 years who have violated this sovereignty. And this book ends with a chapter talking about, okay, this could be the consequence of Åland being demilitarized. So Russia could occupy it through some special ops mission similar to what they did in Crimea. So it's a little thought-provoking book, although it's a lot written in military terms. So that's the first book I read, Ockupera Åland, and I don't have it with me here. Next book I read, I've got it with me here, and it's alternate history. It's the Yiddish Policemen's Union, Williams Library. I saw a video of Åland on YouTube. Interesting place. Yeah, it's nice. We have a lot of hunters in Åland, so if ever Russia invaded, there would be a lot of people who could shoot them. The next book I read was Yiddish Policemen's Union by Michael Chabon. And here Israel was overrun after the Second World War, and the Americans gave the Jew an autonomous zone in Alaska called Sitka, and they get this zone for 60 years, so from 1948 to 2008. So this book happens towards the end of 2007. And this is the worst alternate history book I've ever read, in my opinion. I did not enjoy it at all. There are a couple of interesting elements, but it's just boring and it's a confusing mess, and the plot doesn't make sense, and the characters don't, and the plot isn't well written, and things hop from one place to another. So yeah, if you ever wanted to know which alternate history book I would definitely never recommend, it would be the Yiddish Policeman's Union. So yeah. Okay. Next book I've read was actually the best book I've read so far of the 6 books I've read, and that is the Avid Reader by Thomas Sowell. And this is a book this is a collection of different essays and small articles and sections from different Thomas Sowell books compiled together. So it's basically chapters of 2-3 pages. So it's basically essays. They're usually 2 to 3 pages, sometimes a bit more. And you cover a lot of stuff. So you've got economics, political issues here, social issues, legal issues, race and ethnicity, educational issues, and a small mini biography towards the end. And it's a 400-page book, but it's written in quite large letters. And of all the Thomas Sowell books I read so far, this is my favorite one, as you just move from one topic to another. Hymns are beautiful. I like Joe Steele more than In the Presence of Mine Enemies. Oh yeah. But Joe Steele was good, but I preferred In the Presence of My Enemies. And Joe Steele had a couple of elements that I had a problem with. Williams Library, what would a 5 out of 10 rating look like to you? Confused about what to think. Let's see. I have given on this channel 3 books a 5 out of 10 rating. So I gave, what was it? S.M. Sterling, The Sky People, what was it? The Great Gatsby and Lord of the Flies. Those 3 books I've given them 5 stars out of 10. So when I give a book 5 stars out of 10, it means that I liked some elements in this book, but overall I did not like it. So I think actually as a reviewer, generally, I'm quite generous. So I look at the positive. I may bring up the negative in my evaluations, but I give relatively high ratings. I mean, about half of my reviews, they're 8 out of 10s, and a large amount of my book reviews are 9 or 10 out of 10s. So I like most books that I review. But you can think of if a book is on the low 7 or below, then it's a book I don't think that's really worth reading. So any book I give a 6 or a 5, any book I give a 6 or lower rating out of 10, I don't think it's worth reading. So unless it's on at least if it's not 7 or above, and 7 on the kind of high end, then I don't think a book is worth reading. So maybe my rating system is a bit screwed up, but that's just how I rate stuff. Let's see, was there another comment here? Close. Hymns are beautiful. Of the 18 books I've read so far this year, Joe Steele is my favorite. Yeah, Joe Steele is still a good book. I mean, Douglas MacArthur is quite funny in this book, and you see the shift into dictatorship and how Joe Steele consolidates power. So that is cool and interesting, and it's an interesting parallel universe where you have Trotsky in the Soviet Union, and then you have Joseph Stalin, who's president of America. But there are some pet peeves I have in some books. So whenever I read something in a book and I think, okay, this is historically inaccurate, this actually misrepresents things a lot, then that annoys me. So that takes some points off some books. So the thing with Joe Steele is that, okay, they present Herbert Hoover as a do-nothing president, as if he did nothing for the Great Depression. But if you look at history, a lot of policies that Franklin Delano Roosevelt carried out during the Great Depression, you may disagree with them or agree with them, but a lot of what FDR did in the United States was heavily inspired by what Hoover did. So Hoover did institute tariffs during the Great Depression, and he also pressured companies and wages to have those prices fixed. So that's a small pet peeve I just have with Joe Steele. It's a good book, but there are some Harry Turtledove books that do not have those types of misrepresentations of history, in my opinion. So yeah. But the Thomas Sowell Reader, if any of you are interested into getting into Thomas Sowell, then I would definitely recommend this book. Most of these sections, it just takes 5 minutes or so to read, maybe 10. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed reading the Thomas Sowell Reader by Thomas Sowell. And I disagree with one or two aspects of this book, but overall it's a very good read. And Thomas Sowell, it's very hard to debunk after, because he's very well researched. So yeah. Okay. Then next book we have here is Pirate Latitudes by Michael Crichton. And this is, I haven't read a book by Crichton since October, and this is historical fiction actually by Crichton. Usually he writes sci-fi, but this is historical fiction, and it's about privateers, not pirates really, but privateers. It takes place during 1665 in the Caribbean, so it takes place around the similar time as Robert Harris's book Act of Oblivion, except that this book is loosely based on history. It's not as historical as some Robert Harris books or some other books I have read. And it's good historical fiction, but it's my least favorite Michael Crichton novel. So I would not recommend this book to start out with Michael Crichton, unless you're really interested in reading about pirates, since there's a couple sections in this book I found a bit boring to read, but the ending is really good, I found. So yeah, Pirate Latitudes by Michael Crichton. Next up, I have Francis Fukuyama book. It's called State Building, Governance and World Order in the 21st Century. And this is a very short book, 150 pages or so, and it basically talks about, okay, how do you make states that are undeveloped, how do you develop strong institutions for them? As a lot of problem with the undeveloped world, with low-income countries, is that the state has a large scope, but they're very weak. So what is meant by the strength of the state by Francis Fukuyama means that the state is able to carry out what it's actually supposed to do. So the bureaucracy is actually effective. So this means having a good rule of law and having effective property rights, for example. And I found this a decent book by Francis Fukuyama. And if you're interested in reading about nation building, then this is a good book to check. This is a good book to check out. Yeah, State Building. See, there was a comment here. Williams Library. I should read These Kingdoms later this year. It's about the last Mayan holdout in the Yucatan in the 17th century. I've never heard of this book, These Kingdoms. Well, I wonder, Williams Library, what's the author's name, and is this historical fiction or something else? Yeah. Yeah. And then I've got the final book here I'm gonna talk about, which is Through Darkest Europe by Harry Turtledove. I just finished reading this yesterday. I've recorded my review of it. I've started editing it, but I'm not done with editing it. So, State Building, there will be a book review on this. What is it? I think tomorrow, and then I will review this the next Sunday, actually. And here, Turtledove does something very odd in this book. He flips the script with the Christian and Muslim. Islamic world. So in this book, the Christian world is impoverished, and the Muslim world is developed and rich and liberal and democratic. Here it's dictatorship. In Europe, theocracy. You have terrorists who are called Aquinists. Let's see another comment. William's library. I forgot his name. His name is Kenneth. It's historical. It's historical fiction. Don't think that. Okay, Kenneth. That could be Ken Follett, but probably not. I would guess. Yeah. But this was quite a short book for Harry Turtledove, 300 pages only. Yeah, Harry Turtledove sometimes writes books of 600 pages. And here you have the Islamic world that's rich, developed, and things like that. William's library. True. Darkest Europe. I want to read that one. Yeah, you should definitely read it. I'm gonna in my review. This is going to be a recommended book to read by Harry Turtledove. It's not his best book, but it's still a good read. I'd place it about on the same level as Joe Steele, because there are a couple of contemporary inaccuracies in this book because of the parallel universe where you have. But women are treated well in North Africa and in the Islamic world in this book, and you have terrorists here. And why do you have a free Islamic world and an unfree Christian world in this book? Well, that is because you have Al-Ghazali and Thomas Aquinas who switch places in history. So Thomas Aquinas in reality is one of the founders of Western's thoughts of reason. So he believed that science and God could be reconciled. So that's one of the reasons the West is more evolved than the rest of the world, because that's one of the fundamental thinkers of the West, Thomas Aquinas. And then in the Islamic world, one of the fundamental thinkers there is Al-Ghazali, who believed basically that all ideas that you need to find out about are in the Quran. God can do whatever he wants, so you should not bother studying the scientific world. So that is one of the reasons one could argue that why the Islamic world is less advanced than the Western world. And here Harry Turtledove flips it on his script. So it is Al-Ghazali who promotes reason, and it is Thomas Aquinas who promotes anti-reason or ignorance. And you have terrorists in this book who are similar to Al-Qaeda, who are called Aquinists. And this book takes place in Italy, in the so-called Grand Duchy of Italy, and the two main characters are from the Maghreb Republic, so in North Africa, Khalid and Dawood. Dawood is a Jew, by the way, and he's quite funny. And yeah, this is a good book. Although I have one slight problem with this book. It's that it basically talks about, in the developed world, this is just an opinion of mine, but in the developed world, women or minorities, marginalized peoples have to work twice as hard to get further in life, which I would disagree with that thesis. But well, Harry Turtledove is on the left, he's an American liberal, so yeah, that's fine. I just disagree with him, but it's a good book otherwise overall. So yeah, and so those are the 6 books I read this past 5 weeks. And right now I am currently reading, where did I put that book? I am currently reading now Migrations and Cultures by Thomas Sowell. So another Thomas Sowell book. That's gonna be my third Thomas Sowell book for a year. And this is a sequel to Race and Culture by Thomas Sowell. It's part of his Culture trilogy, and it talks about different migrations. So I'm on the chapter having to do with Germans, and there are chapters on Germans, Japanese, Italians, Chinese, Jews, and Indians. So yeah, this will be reviewed in the coming weeks eventually. And by the way, William's Library, I'm gonna do your tag, so I expect that will come out sometime towards the beginning of April or so. So it will be the video before this book review or right after this book review, I believe. So yeah. And those are the books I wanted to talk about this time. So are there any questions in the chat? William's Library, I read that through darkest, Europe does not aggress colonialism and fighting for resources. Oh, well, yeah, it doesn't. No, it does not address colonialism or fighting for resources. Although it does imply that you had something similar to World War II. So there, in our world we had the genocide of the Jews. In this world you had the genocide. In this book you have the genocide of the Tamils, actually. Yeah. I think taking place in India, and I think Mughal India still exists in this book. And in Istanbul you actually have a Seljuk constitutional monarchy. So yeah. So does anyone have any questions? Because those are the books I plan to talk about. William's Library. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, those are the books I was talking about, and I've talked about them, and there's nothing else I've planned on the schedule. So unless someone has a suggestion or any questions, I'm gonna close this live stream soon. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. If you have any comments, you can comment them now, I would suggest. So so far this year I have read 12 books. Yeah. William's Library, I will comment. Okay, good. Yeah. And one of the books I actually read this year is one of the worst books I've ever read, in my opinion. So yeah, Yiddish Policeman's Union, don't read that. Okay, so I think William's Library is gonna comment something. Yes, like this. Hello, William. Again, an interesting session going on. Thank you, Lisbeth. Yeah. All right. Let's see if there are some comments. If William's Library is gonna comment anything. Asman Hussein, sorry I am late. Oh, hey. Oh, hello. Pakistani girl who I believe is called Maria. Yeah. Let's see, what can I... Does anyone have any questions? Because I didn't put anything more on the schedule for here, and we're already done with the wrap up. So I'm trying to think of something book related to talk about. So, but any suggestions would be helpful. Williams, I would not impose, but I'd be curious about your thoughts on Robert Ludlum novels. He wrote about conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, yeah. I heard you called him the Alex Jones version of authors, which yeah, that sounds weird and interesting. My father actually has a couple Robert Ludlum books. I think he has the Scarlet Imposter or whatever that book is called, so I could maybe review that eventually. Probably not this year, maybe next year. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that much about Robert Ludlum. He sounds like a little crazy for an author. So yeah. Oh, and I'm sure that hymns are beautiful. I don't know if everyone knows this, but I've actually made a Goodreads page now, so which is included in my channel banner now. So I've set my reading goal this year for 50 books. I'll probably exceed that, but last year I read 60 books. William's Library. What do you think of conspiracy theories overall? I don't like the word conspiracy theory often, because a conspiracy theory, if you look at the definition, it's something I think made up by the FBI or the CIA, and it kind of means you're inventing something, it's a lie. But if you think about him, sorry, well, thank you for sharing that, by the way. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I actually enjoy making lists, so it's fine. I haven't included all of the books that I've read in 2022, but all of the books I've read so far or I'm reading in 2023 are included, and I will probably add more books eventually of what I've read on Goodreads. How many books have I read actually this year? Since I've started reading in 2019, I can actually check that. Let's see. Where's my books I've read? I'm very statistical as a person, so I keep detailed statistics about everything I read. And since 2019, I've actually read 259 books, so you can understand why that would take a while to add all of those books on Goodreads. Yeah. Oh yeah, and oh yeah, Williams Library, you were asking about conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, so whenever the media calls something a conspiracy theory, it's basically a catchphrase used to dismiss something, but often it's not a conspiracy theory. So, for example, let's just talk about COVID and at least from what I've understood, I don't follow COVID, didn't go into deep dive it, but remember that the media initially said that, oh, it's a conspiracy theory that COVID was created by the Chinese in some lab in Wuhan. But now I think you have different governments. I think the US government even has confirmed that, oh, the COVID was created in a lab in Wuhan. So, yeah, often what's called a conspiracy theory isn't necessarily so, but there are some conspiracy theories and that are commonly believed that are false in my opinion. So, from reading, for example, 11/22/63 and by Stephen King and Liberal Fascism by Jonah Goldberg, those books have made me reconsider my position on the JFK assassination. So a lot of people think that JFK was whacked by the CIA. I used to think that JFK was whacked by the mafia, as Jack Ruby, the guy who killed Oswald, was linked to the mafia. But it turns out, actually, when you think about it, you have the law, you have Occam's razor, that the simplest solution is often the correct one. So Lee Harvey Oswald, he's a communist, Cuba and Soviet sympathizer, and Kennedy is a strong anti-communist, and Lee Harvey Oswald was also very screwed up in the head. He beat his wife, so it actually does make sense that he killed Kennedy. And you have some weird things that happened, but yeah. But there are a lot of conspiracy theories that are wrong and dumb. For example, that Trump won the election because of Russia. That's not true. He won it fair and square. I'm talking about 2016. Or now you have a conspiracy theory on the Republican side that you had voter fraud and that Trump actually didn't lose the election in 2020 and that the Democrats stole the election. So Williams Library, thanks for answering. Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, both sides believe in conspiracy theory. And I don't like when the media goes and says, oh, this person is promoting lies or misleading information or propaganda. All political sides promote propaganda. The left economically spends a lot of time promoting inequality myths. A lot of things that you hear about in the media or throughout the world that seems just to be common sense. If you actually read some Thomas Sowell books about it, you learn that it's just an economic fallacy. It doesn't make sense. So the belief that inequality is getting worse or that the poor are getting poorer, that's not really true, as the people who are poor now are not the same people, and you actually have a lot of more social mobility in the West than people actually realize. Yeah. So, yeah, one lesson to learn from this, I guess, from whenever the government or the media tells them, you don't have to reject it outright or believe it outright. Just be critical or skeptical of it. No, like I am, I try to be at least. So I do consider myself a libertarian, for example, but I'm not dogmatically a libertarian. So at university. I'm currently doing some research on famines in Bengal, in India, in British India, and I'm actually considering. I'm being more and more open to the fact, okay, that government intervention in British India may have helped alleviate the famine. I'm not entirely, I haven't been entirely convinced, but I'm being open-minded. I try to think of what is best for society, so I'm against coercion unless you can demonstrate it that it's good for the nation or for society in the long run. But if you can demonstrate that, then I'm open to those new ideas. So yeah. But I hate when people talk about, oh, this political party promotes this and that misinformation and lie, or that you have misinformation now around the world on social media. Everyone does this. I avoid it. I try to avoid it. I've probably done it by accident. But yeah, I've gone to some democracy events at my university, and it was interesting, but there's clearly an anti-right-wing bias there. And oh, the populists, they're really dangerous for democracy. I don't like right-wing populists in the West that much because they're autarkists, they're for protectionism. Some of them are against NATO and the European Union, but they're not a danger for democracy, and they're not that authoritarian usually. It's so yeah. Let's see, are there any more comments? Does anyone have any questions? I'm wondering. So otherwise, let me think if there's something else I could mention, because I'm not so sure. Williams Library, no more for me, okay? Hymns are beautiful. YouTube is silencing me. Wait, why is YouTube silencing you? Hymns are beautiful. What do you mean? In what sense? Hymns are beautiful. There's a conspiracy. Yeah, it is true that the social media networks do try to silence people. I mean, I am too small of a channel for them to notice me. Yeah, and I am a lot less polarizing or controversial in my speech than a lot of people who are right-wing. But I do know at least that the social media companies, with kind of the government, American government and the European government trying to encourage them, that they do try to censor some people on social media, which it's a private company, so they can do whatever they want, but it's bad. Hymns are beautiful. I keep posting comments about my own personal Christian beliefs, and the messenger is hiding my comments. Oh yeah, wait, do you mean on this channel or on other, or when you watch YouTube generally, do you mean that you post comments and then they're deleted by YouTube? Because that's not good. I've actually noticed that some of the comments from different YouTube videos, hymns are hymns are on this channel. Yeah, or on this channel or on YouTube or on this chat. That's odd. Wait, what? Let me check this live stream to check if I don't have any weird settings here. That's odd that they're censoring on this chat. I haven't posted anything to restrict people on this chat. The only thing I have on this live stream is basically that you have to be subscribed to say anything. But I don't think I've put any keywords that are banned. The only thing that's basically banned on my channel is the word promosm, because that's some marketing thing to get people to buy subscribers or something like that. But yeah. Okay. So I noticed also that we have a new viewer and subscriber here. So let's see, what you call Asman Hussein, or I heard that in the comments you're called Maria. Maybe you have a question, or someone else has a question, which I can talk about. Because I don't mind going on more with this live stream. I just need to think of something else to bring up. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, guys, I'm gonna go to Canada this summer. I'm gonna travel to Ontario and Quebec, so that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be able to go and buy some more books cheaply, which is great. Yeah. And I can say here that at my university life that I've been socializing more recently, and that since I've gotten my driver's license last month, that things have been much better. Hymns are beautiful. Canada is a nice place to visit. Yeah, it is. Canada is not as good as the USA, but it's still nice. I have some family in Canada that I'm gonna actually visit this no, not this month, but in June, July, which is gonna be fun. And I'm gonna go to different cities. So I'm gonna visit, I think, Quebec, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. Williams Library, nice. I hope I go to Europe in May. No promises though. Oh yeah, yeah. Europe is also pretty good. And hymns are beautiful. Actually, I bought 100 books since January. Oh yeah, hymns are beautiful. Let me check how of the books I haven't finished reading yet. What I have read. How many books do I have bought from 2023? So since the beginning of 2023, I have 5 books that I've gotten left that I haven't read, that I can see. But of the books I didn't read that I got actually in 2022, I actually have 74 books left. So yeah, I buy a lot of books. But buying 100 books since January, that is a lot. Those must be used books. You're so lucky to be an American that you can buy a lot of books for cheap. I'd say, yeah. I mean, I did get some of these books I did actually get at used bookstores. So both of these books I got used or cheap. So what I got this for $7 or something like that at Books A Million in Alabama, and then this I got for $15 or something like that at the used bookstore in Tennessee. And I still have a lot of used books that I got from my trip to the USA last year that I haven't read actually. Yeah. Let's see, any more comments? Okay. I should have planned this better. Should have put more things on the agenda for a live stream. I didn't realize things would go so fast. Hymns are beautiful. I bought 3 new books for around $10 last night. Well, you seem to have a symptom or an addiction that a lot of book lovers have, which is we can't stop buying books. So I've chilled out a bit with me buying books in the last few months, but still there are so many books I want to get. But then I've counted what I'm gonna review. So with all the global politics books I have, which I review one a month, I'm gonna be busy until well into 2024. And I have also a lot of alternate history books, which should keep me busy until November or something like that. So yeah. Okay. By the way, I don't think there will be a live stream in April because then I'll be traveling in Sweden and Finland. So I think that the next live stream will be in May probably. And by then I'll be 20, by the way. But if there aren't any more questions or comments, I may start to close down the live stream. I had less planned for this live stream, so of course it's a bit shorter. Next time I can have more things planned for live stream or about the same. But yeah, the wrap up went fast. So unless anyone has any final comments, I'm gonna cut this live stream soon. Thanks for guys for joining this live stream. I'm gonna cut it out in a minute or so unless anyone has any comments. Let's see. Hymns are beautiful. What books? Wait, what do you mean? What will you read in the next month or two? Oh yeah, wait, I've thought about this. So this is the book I'm currently reading. After that, I'm planning to read a book in Swedish called Civilisationens uppkomst by Dick Harrison, which is a book about the start of civilization. I'm not making any promises, but I'm thinking that in April I want to read the Six Dark Tower book, Song of Susanna. I think I may read also a Robert Harris book called Conclave. I'm also thinking about reading John Mersheimer's book, the Israeli Lobby. Wait, what is it called? The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, yeah. And I actually do make a schedule of what I plan which type of videos I'm planning to do throughout the coming months, but I change it constantly. Let me check what I've put in here recently. So yeah, once I'm done with that True Darkest Europe review, that's gonna be all the videos I'm doing for March. But I will do some non-book reviews, so of course I will do that. What was it? Something Tell Me the Truth or so. That book tag that Williams Library tagged me in for, and then I'll probably do another non-book review on maybe something Thomas Sowell rating, a listicle of top 5 or something like that. And then, by the way, oh yeah, Tim Marshall is releasing a book towards the end of April, a geopolitics book about the geopolitics of space. So I'll get that in early May, so that I will review sometime in May. Alright, and I've been thinking of also reading Plot Against America in the coming couple of months. And yeah, we'll see. I do have a TBR of, what was it, 35 different books to pick from. So we'll see what I'll read in the coming couple of months. And I'll probably read some other things, but yeah, I haven't decided completely, and I change my mind regularly. So all the books I mentioned, I haven't pledged to read this. The only pledges I've made is that the books that are coming in the videos that are coming in the coming weeks. Hymns are beautiful. I try to read 3 to 4 books at a time. Oh yeah, I read 1 or 2 books at a time. It depends. And from time to time, when I go a bit crazy, it's 3 or 4 at a time, I think. But no, it's not usually more than 2 books. And then it would be 1 fiction and 1 non-fiction, although sometimes it's 2 non-fictions. So while I actually did read Through Darkest Europe, I was also reading Migrations and Cultures. Of course, I read 1 book faster than the other. I don't read them equally, as you can see here. So yeah. Oh, and I can show you something pretty cool I actually got for my driver's license, I got this gift from my mom. I actually have a golden bookmark, which is nice. I love this bookmark. I have a amazing bookmark, and it's not completely in gold, but I think it's covered in real gold actually, and it's made in some Swedish town actually. So this was a good gift, or a great gift, or amazing gift, was for getting my driver's license finally in a few weeks ago. And when I return to Sweden in a couple of weeks or so, I'll be picking up my driver's license, so I don't have it with me yet. So yeah. So let's see, do you, Hymns Are Beautiful, have any, or anyone else have any final comments, or any more comments you want to make just generally? Or any questions you may have? I mean, this is a Q&A after all. Let's see, wait a bit. Hymns Are Beautiful, do you read any other non-fiction? So I read a few genres of non-fiction. So I read Thomas Sowell books. I read global politics besides Sowell. Okay, I do read some history books. So some history books in Swedish or by some other authors. So I've read some Richard Evans books over the years. Just different history books in general, some by some Swedish historians or by different American and British historians. I did read a couple of Richard Overy books, for example, last year. And I have read some economics besides Thomas Sowell. So I've read a couple of Hayek books, Friedrich Hayek. I've read a couple of Milton Friedman books. I have read a couple of Henry Hazlitt books in economics. And then, of course, I read a lot of global politics nonfiction books. I mean, the Francis Fukuyama, the Peter Zeihan book reviews, Robert Kaplan, those are nonfiction geopolitics. Because I just define nonfiction. Yeah, for me, you have two types of books mainly. You have fiction, which is something that's not happened, and then nonfiction, where you're writing about the real world, presenting ideas. And I read a mix of economics, global politics, and history for the most part. Those are the three main genres I read in nonfiction, although I read some other books from time to time. Yeah. Okay, let's see any other comments. I don't know if you, Williams Library, if you're still there. I wonder, weren't you, or haven't you started writing on a book recently? Or, well, what's that about, if you wanna mention that? So yeah, let's see if there are any more comments. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, that's the nonfiction I have read. And by the way, if any of you have book suggestions of what you want me to review, you can comment them here, and I'll take that into consideration. I'm not gonna promise that I'm gonna review them and read them anytime soon, but I may, especially if it's historical fiction, or if it's alternate history, or it's global politics. Those are genres that I'm mainly interested in reviewing on this channel. So yeah. Okay, hymns are beautiful. Read. Let's see what you're commenting. Some Robert Conroy. Oh yeah, that's. Yeah, Robert Conroy. So I've kind of made a pledge for myself so far that I'm gonna avoid buying books with a few exceptions. So when I go to a Comic-Con convention, I may buy some books. Then when I go actually get to vote in the Finnish embassy in Sweden, in the Netherlands next week, so I'll be going to a bookstore close by. But apart from those, I'm gonna try to avoid buying books until I go on my trip to Canada. There I'll go a bit crazy. We'll see how many books my father is okay with me buying, or how many books I can buy I find interesting. But yeah, if I see a Robert Conroy book that interests me while I'm in Canada, then I'll review it. No, not review it. Then I'll buy it. So if I see a book like 1901 or Himmler's War, then I would review something like that. Yeah. And read it sometime. Maybe not this year, but next year I would guess. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Any more comments? Let's see, I don't see any more comments, so unless anyone has anything else, I may close this live stream because I didn't bring more to talk about. I probably should have, but I didn't. I didn't plan this live stream as well as previous live stream, but it's fine. It's fine if we have a shorter live stream this time. So unless anyone have any final comments, I'm gonna start closing the live stream now, so I can say for further live streams, there will probably not be a live stream in April. The next one will probably be sometime in early May. And yeah, and coming book reviews are Through Darkest Europe, State Building, and also that book tag by Williams Library. But otherwise, I'm getting ready to sign off. So thanks everyone for joining this shorter live stream. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in my next book review next time, or I'll probably see you in my next live stream, which will probably be in May, if I'm lucky, maybe in April. But otherwise, thanks for joining. Goodbye.